Hey guys, it is finally time! Guts out, boys! It is the Ogre Kingdoms embargo. It has finally dropped, and we're going to be facing off up against one of our main training partners in this early access, Mr. Logic_EU, as he brings the force of Boris and Kislev up against GREASUS GOLDTOOth. Now, I know a lot's been said about Ogres probably today and over the last couple of days, particularly about Iron Blasters being very good, Scrag the Slaughter being very good, and Noblars being an absolute menace at capturing objectives. So I wanted to highlight a few different units today that maybe you haven't seen so much of, and hopefully give you a fresh look at the Ogres. So we've got quite a badass elite starting force. We've gone for all the big boys. So we do have a Stonehorn with Harpoon Launcher. What does Harpoon Launcher mean? It means there's an Ogre sitting on top and he throws harpoons at you. It's nothing too crazy. It's not like a big mechanical device. Stonehorns in general are quite meaty and tanky, fulfilling a similar role to Giants, maybe hitting a little bit harder against single entities, or a little less hard against single entities, but also being a little bit more mobile and quite a good chaff clearer in general. We do have some Mornfang cavalry with great weapons down on the right hand side. Knowing I'm going up against Kislev, I wanted something that could hopefully go toe to toe with bear cavalry with a bit of support, or even take down and pin in those nasty light and heavy war sleds. We are bringing the big old Firebelly to the battlefield, who looks fantastic. Look at this boy as he marches to war. He looks ferocious with his flaming eyes coming out of his mask. Coming in with some pretty simple spells. We simply have the Flaming Sword of Rune, as well as the Burning Head, which does bounce off pieces of terrain, which is pretty hilarious to see in this game mode. We do have Eruption as well, a nice little explosion you can use to get out of a dangerous situation. Does considerable damage as well, plus Flame Incarnate, given that melee damage reflection of 14. You can use it twice and it does last a relatively long time. Leading the force is the mighty GREASUS GOLDTOOth himself, looking fantabby-tastic. The perfect Valentine's gift for many of you out there. Just look at him go. Now, I am also a little bit disappointed his model doesn't have the ever-moving carpet of Noblars cannon into battle, but this also does, in fairness, look pretty badass. He's going to be coming in today with everyone that has their price, -8 leadership and 24 melee attack, which is very tanky and very delicious. We have Stand Your Ground. We also have the Scepter of Titans, given bonus versus large, as well as armor pierce and weapon damage. And once again, that's kind of taken into consideration the fact I'm up against Kislev, and I'm probably going to have to take down quite a few of the large lads. For my opponent, he does have Boris the Mighty. Boris has been taken and shown off quite a bit recently, and I think early on people thought Constantine was going to be the main pick for Kislev, but I actually think Boris is a little bit better, simply due to the fact he is an absolute powerhouse with one of the most glorious looking bear units in the entire game. He has the Fury of Urson. We have Stand Your Ground, as well as Shard Blade. Pretty cool stuff indeed. And backing him up, it looks like his daughter has lent him some of her Royal Guard. We have Ice Guard with Glaives. We have 1 unit, 2 unit, and 3 units of them, which is really cool. Plus some Armored Corsairs in the center here, coming in with their great weapons, looking really quite cool. They've got their pistols, and they're ready to throw down with the best of them. We've got another unarmored version going towards Objective 3 and doing that long march. So without further ado, let's get this battle underway. Should be a good, fun one. I am moving quite aggressively with the Stonehorn into the middle. I want to test out the Harpoon Launcher. It's got some decent range on it, don't get me wrong, 250. I think it's probably better against single targets rather than firing into units like this, as we will fire off our harpoon. It goes down range and does some okay damage. Nothing too crazy. We do get the first blood, though, slaying 3 of the Ice Guard, which is certainly a bit of a cheeky morale booster for me. I've got some Noblar Trappers moving out onto the right-hand side. Noblar Trappers and Noblars are disgustingly good. Noblars are only 200 gold, and they're so good at capping objectives, and Noblar Trappers are a real pain in the butt, particularly coming in with their glorious Noblar Traps. They only use it once. It is popped automatically. You don't have to worry about it. It lowers speed, charge bonus, and charge speed, plus does damage. It is actually quite scary indeed, and allows them to trade relatively cost-effectively against cheap enemy cavalry. Now, at this moment, I am hiding my troops. Stonehorn's pulling back, the Firebelly's hiding around the right-hand flank, and the majority of my force, GREASUS GOLDTOOth and the Mornfang cavalry, can be moving to the left-hand side. I don't really want to contest the middle up against so many of the Ice Guard. They're simply going to be too scary, so I'm going to go after the flanks, at least for now. And we can see we are moving the boys to the left here, but I'm a little bit worried about my opponent's army. His composition in general, I think, is quite a nice counter to my own, at least off the rip, so I'm going to have to bring in some smart reinforcements to try to turn the tide. Noblar Trapper's going to be moving into glorious hand-to-hand combat. Look at them go. Prison shanks galore. We bring death and ruin. Unfortunately, there is a giant snow leopard here, which we're probably not going to fare super well against. We do come with a lovely burning head, though, going down the line and doing some decent damage. Not the best cast, kind of more of an itchy nuisance on the back of their necks rather than going directly through them. But still, hey, it does some good work. And you see the button head really bouncing off and going in a awkward direction here. Middle's been dominated by my opponent. We still have 30 seconds before the points are active, but we have Ice Guard with glaives on here, plus some of the armored troops. The other Ice Guard moving around to the right-hand side, where we have summoned some Saber Tusk packs. Their kind of answer, almost like Fleshhound style unit, to the right-hand side to help contest and drag down that pesky Snow Leopard. And the Stonehorn is going to be pushing forward to shut down the Ice Guard, and at least drive them back, though we do have the Frostbite popped on us, and I'm going to have to retreat once more. Over on Objective 1, I've pulled back all of my troops away from the long range of the Ice Guard, and now my Noblar Trappers is all that stands in the way between my opponent and this objective. We can see some Horse Archers have been summoned, and it looks like a Boris is waiting in the wings on this side. Ice Guard are freaking awesome, by the way. I really need to do some close-ups of them when they're firing their bows, because they have this really cool animation. But the Mighty Glaives, they're spinning them around, and big arcs of death as Noblar limbs are getting flopped all over the place, and we're getting butchered rather hardcore. So we're going to be coming in with the Mournfang Cavalry, going for a thunderous charge into the front. Great weapons wielded high in the skies, guts out, and mighty Mournfangs to use their tusks to bite into the flesh of the Ice Guard. Saber Tusks also helping on, just trying to overwhelm this unit, because this unit is basically good against everything I just rushed it with. But if we can keep them knocked down and do big burst damage, maybe we've got a good chance there. Mournfang Cavalry do spot those pesky Horse Archers in the trees, and I decide to drive them away from the main fight, though Boris is coming in to fight against GREASUS. Elsewhere in the battlefield, Objective 2 is well and truly secured by my opponent. Number 3 is a bit more hotly contested. We have Winged Lancers in here, but I have a lot of Trappers, a lot of Tusks, plus the Stonehorn. We should be able to secure this right-hand flank. Now, there's a big fight going on. GREASUS versus Boris. The Battle of the Chads. Two big, thick boys just going to war. Of course, I'm Ogres. I don't play fair. I'm coming in with all my Mournfang Cavalry, which has a lovely bonus versus large, and we're kind of bullying Boris a little bit. He's trying his best to hold on. GREASUS is just taking big old chunks out of his big leg there of ham and is whipping his giant mace back and forth. And Boris not having the greatest of days at the moment. Mournfang Cavalry certainly helping out in that engagement. You can see how much damage we took despite the fact we have the cavalry support. Saber Tusks do jump on top of the Ice Guard, who is still alive. We've been chucking everything at them. Luckily, they're quite spread out and they're not doing any concentrated firepower at the moment. Boris is going to have to fall back from this engagement as we start to dominate the capture point with Noblar Trappers and basic Noblars. There's still a decent amount of Horse Archers from my opponent and some more Spearmen coming into the left-hand side. Looks like Boris may actually break before he escapes. At least that is my plan, as I summon even more Noblars. I've chevroned them up and they are still disgustingly cheap. I'm going to be flooding them on to the objectives there. Boris is going to retreat back to the middle and try to find safety, as we do have some more Ice Guard roaring on the fire. Now, I have summoned a mighty Noblar Scrap Launcher. This has kind of been my main answer to the Ice Guard in general, but also these armored troops launching shots down from the high position. And I love these new maps. They're so cool, way more diverse, and you have these like little high points where you can place artillery and range troops, and they can be a nuisance for your opponent to really unpack and get on top of. We have Noblar Trappers holding down Objective 3. Saber Tusk pack as well have managed to shatter the Winged Lancers and come back into the main fight. Ice Guard have been a bit naughty. They've been a pain in my butt. The mighty Stonehorn is trying his best. Likewise, I have at the Fire Bailey. I think I've already dropped a burning head on these ladies, and it simply was not enough. But he's giving it a good go, swinging that mace around and getting filled with many arrows. But hey, he's having a good time. It looks like the Ice Guard may actually start to wave and break here, that they probably will get their passive procs where they become unbreakable for a short time, because they do not bleed blood, they bleed Kislev. We have some Iron Guts going to be moving towards the main fight, as I am starting to lose this objective. In fact, I have lost the central objective, or I'm trying to capture it back, I should say, because my opponent's held it most of the game. Iron Guts going to be charging in here. Mighty cleaving swords trying to bite thick there into the mighty Snow Leopards, as well as Boris, who's very, very tanky, getting healed up quite nicely, as we do have a Patriarch being brought in. That's going to give Boris quite a bit more durability in the battle, and the armored troops are going down rather quickly to the power of the Iron Guts. I love those elite troops in the middle portion. So we do have Objective 3, still well and truly secure on Objective 1. The Ice Guard is struggling to break through, just the sheer weight of Noblars I am launching at my opponent. We do have more of them as well. They are getting driven back though, maybe trying to rotate back round to the middle, or make a bit of a push onto Objective 3. Now, GREASUS, he's licking his wounds a little bit. I've kind of had to hide him. He's getting hunted down by Ice Guard, and he took considerable damage to the mighty Boris. And his big pet though, his beloved Stonehorn, his Valentine's today, has taken control of the battlefield instead, and is going to be pushing into the middle to try to stabilize this position, because we are starting to capture it despite it being in Kislev's hands at the moment. It looks like Saber Tusks are going to be bounding on top of Boris, as well as the Iron Guts, who have been doing a really solid job actually just holding the line down in the middle. Mournfang Cavalry is getting buffed up by the Flaming Sword of Ruin, and we're doing a really good job, but Boris just does not die. He is so freaking tanky, particularly when combined with a Patriarch, who can, of course, heal him up rather nicely. And it looks like the Mournfang Cavalry may indeed be going down here, though the Stonehorn moving in it to engage. He is angry. He saw the bloody chunks Boris pulled out of his lord early on, and he is not pleased. We do have more spears coming in, as well as Ice Guard, just trying to rain in some long-range shots. Unfortunately, my Noblar Scrap Launcher, I did not have it on guard mode, so once the enemy went out of position, it just Leroy Jenkins it to the front line. But that's okay. I'm going to pull it into the middle as we drop some big fat burning heads down on the Ice Guard, doing some okay damage, but nothing too insane. Objective 1 is well and truly in my hands. I have Saber Tusk packs here and Noblars. That's comfortable enough to beat back the resistance here of Horse Archers, so I'm not too worried about this point at the moment. GREASUS vibing. He does need to be kind of more rotating back round to the middle. The Lead Belchers doing a decent job just unlaunching shots after shots into the mass. I'm actually trying to focus down Boris right now, but it looks like the Lead Belchers a little bit worried about hitting their Noblar Broskies, so instead they're going to shoot long range and aim at the Ice Guard instead and do some pretty nice damage to them. We do have some mighty Warbear Riders being summoned into action, and Warbears are so badass and legendary. They have heard the battle cries of Urson and Boris. He's like, lads, I need some help. So the Warbears do ride in, and the Stonehorn is starting to struggle, particularly with these Spearmen coming in as well. We are trying to drag down Boris, but he just does not die. We even have the mighty Iron Guts slamming down with their clubs and dragging up snow, going for a bit of a cheap shot, trying to blind their opponent. With the Warbears in the back, though, it is not going to be going too well for the Stonehorn, but I do have the glorious triple cap Noblars. You guys are the true heroes in my eyes, bound to cap all these objectives rather successfully. Snow Leopard is going to apply a bit of pressure to objective 3, so I do need to pull back with my Noblar Trappers and try a little bit of defense. Also, my opponent does a real nice snipe there with the Snow Leopard, hunting down the Firebelly Snow Leopard. So rapid, very good single entity hunters. In the middle, the armoured troops are battling against the Saber Tusks, not having a good day, and poor GREASUS GOLDTOOth, he hears the whimpering cries of his pet Stonehorn, his beloved Valentine, and he needs to come over here and try and help it out, because the Stonehorn is going down, and going down fast. Warbears also getting healed up, once again Boris is as well, very close to his healing cap, and we're just cramming as many Noblars into every orifice the Kislev forces have, and every time they go to sleep, I want 5 Noblars under their bed. Every time they go to the toilet, I want a Noblar popping up there with a pointy stick. I want my opponent to have no rest from the mighty troops, and this is why I think Ogres are one of the top tier factions in the game. They have so many hard hitting units, and then a load of cheap units as well to flood in and do some damage. Scrap Launcher obliterates a load of their own troops there, but hey, you gotta love it. It looks like, unfortunately, the Stonehorn's going to be going down, but GREASUS is now here. The Scepter of Titans being brought down on the skull of Boris, looking to avenge his glorious favourite pet, and we are all over my opponent now. We have got a massive dominant lead on tickets. My opponent will be getting a bit more resources than me. He is summoning Winged Lancers as well as Ice Guard to try to pressure the flanks, but with his leader going down like this, being felled by the might of GOLDTOOth, it is a glorious decisive victory for the Ogre Kingdoms. Very well played to my opponent. Super fun game. Not the closest game of all time, but we wanted to showcase, or I wanted to showcase, GREASUS GOLDTOOth, as I think he's a cool lord. Now, Scrag the Slaughterer, you're going to be seeing him a lot in most people's replays because he is better lord in general. Having a caster lord who's also good at melee, such good durability, is kind of hard to look past. But hey, GREASUS GOLDTOOth, he still has his place. And up against Kislev, it may be one of the factions where he can do relatively well, where you're expecting Warbears, you're expecting Boris, and he can go kind of throw the punches with them and go toe-to-toe with those mighty warriors of legend. 2,000 damage value on him, only 0 kills, but hey, he was dueling Boris all day long and did a pretty decent job of it. I will delve into the damage dealt, gold value, and kills of all these units in just a second, but if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a big fat juicy thumbs up, subscribe as well to the channel for more Total War Warhammer content into the future, and yeah, comment down below what you thought of the battle. Bucket ton of links in the description, Twitch, Patreon, Discord, all that good juicy standard stuff. And my opponent today was Logic_EU. You can find him on YouTube and Twitch. Yeah, go check him out. Does some awesome content as always. Be one of my main opponents and training partners throughout the early access so far. We've got a load more cool games coming up. Also got a load of games as well, some tournament games I had which were disgustingly close up against Battle Sea. I'm probably going to be casting on the channel relatively soon. Back to the battle. GREASUS GOLDTOOTH did pretty solid job. 1,500 then on the STONEHORN harpoon launcher, also carrying its weight. 56 kills, and just been a general menace. Just been annoying. It's relatively fast. It can kind of outpace a lot of the ground force of Kislev to try to get into those good engagements. And then even when I had to sacrifice it in the middle just to hold the objective, it still did that job wisely. Just shy of 1,000 value on the Firebelly, 30 kills. It did okay. Burning Head seemed to have done a little bit less damage, perhaps. I'm not sure if it's changed, or if it's exactly the same. Maybe they were just some bad casts. I didn't really overcast it. I was going for more quantity over quality there. 1.4k on the Mornfang Cavalry, great weapons though. Love this pick here. They are a little bit susceptible to the bowfire, which is quite scary, particularly in my opponent's Stein build. With so many Ice Guard everywhere, they will rip these guys to shreds, but we were able to keep them alive and kind of sustain them throughout the battle, and that way they're certainly going to pay for themselves. Elsewhere for the build, I don't think we got this second unit of cavalry on. The Iron Guards did a solid job, 700 damage value, or nearly 700, making the center a little bit more stable. 860 on the Lead Belchers in the late game. Lead Belchers are amazing. They do so much freaking damage. They're a little bit squishy though. If you can get Flesh Hounds onto them, Saber Tusks onto them, any kind of, like, not really crappy cav, but any kind of mid-tier cav, the Lead Belchers will go down incredibly fast. 760 on the Noblar Scrap Launcher, a really fun utility piece. 1.5 on the Saber Tusk pack. Jesus, they are powerful. 81 kills, 950. The others faring a little bit worse there. Noblar Trappers are just such good value for money. They are incredibly sticky. You really do have to send some decent units to shut them down. 820 gold value on a unit that I basically just want for capping. 62 kills on them as well. The others not doing quite so well, but still doing their job. And look at this, even some of the Noblars, 89, 68 kills. They weren't playing around. I probably did some of them multiple times though, so you do have to bear that in mind. 660, 670 value, not bad for units which only cost 200 gold. As for my opponent, Boris is just such a thick, meaty Chad. 1.9k damage value on him, got himself into quite a few bad situations and engagements, and still survived. And then a really nice summon of the Patriarch to heal up Boris in the mid-game came in quite clutch. 41 kills on them. Ice Guard Glaives, 984, 1019, and 676 damage value of 32, 3, and 60 kills. So a bit of a mixed bag for them, struggling to get onto the right engagements. Really wanted to push objectives, but being held back by chaff, and then beaten down by the large, scary creatures of the Ogres. The rest of the infantry, unfortunately, didn't do anything crazy. Patriarch, 600 damage value, did okay. Warbears only had a short lifespan, were basically full health at the end and still got 1,000 gold value. I think saving up and bringing them in a bit earlier would have caused me all kinds of problems and probably put me on the back foot a little bit. Frost Maiden never came out. The cavalry didn't do amazing. The Snow Leopard, though, 1,474 gold value. The Ultimate Mage Hunter, 24 kills and some good capping as well on that far side. The Horse Archers, 127 kills isn't bad, but they were mainly shooting Noblars, which just isn't that big of a threat to me. And they weren't, unfortunately, able to get on top of, the big kind of targets they want to shoot at, such as GREASUS, the Stonehorn, or the Cavalry. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Until next time, peace, peace. And as always, stay awesome.